Hey, everybody, welcome to Spill the Immunity. I'm Bree, your host, along with my wonderful hosts, Brandon and Alex. And then we have superfan James coming at you from, are you over in the Philippines?
Yes, I am from the Philippines. Yes.
That's amazing because Alex is in Penang, Malaysia.
We're taking over the world, guys.
So we are an intercontinental. I don't know what it is. I can't find words today, apparently. So
neither can Joe.
I have no memory and I can't find words. I'm already setting myself up for not winning the games. So we're just going to be clear on that right now. I've only had a half a cup of coffee, so that could be part of it. Hey, I'm already out of this season. So if you are looking at our draft board, you will see I'm donezo. It's over and done.
And you know what? Your biggest screw job was Thomas. Like, what if they would pick Joe for the California Girls at one time? This whole season would be out of sorts, which would be fun because right now this is the wasteland of the season right now.
I know. It's been pretty wild and pretty hilarious, to be honest. Like the last episode specifically had me cracking up like crazy.
Yeah, we will get into some of the funny stuff. I mean, still Survivor the musical with some of the singing that's going on. So much singing. But Brie, where do you want to start today?
Well, I kind of want to start with the aftermath of the vote. Because I don't think there were any big surprises, but my big surprise was Mary just getting right into it, not serving herself very well. And she's definitely going to be the highlight of everyone's conversation today. But what did everybody think? Brandon, go ahead.
Coconuts. She definitely. I was going to try to find some coconut juice and just drink the whole entire thing right in front of you guys the whole entire time because apparently that's what she was doing the whole entire time. If you want it worked for some people for whatever reason. Like there's some people that can do all the obnoxious things and they keep them in because they want them to be the third player. But for her, they're just like, we're not having this. We're not doing this today. And it's kind of been like that for the last couple episodes where, the minor leaguers, not the Joes, not the Strong Alliance, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot time after time. Christy did it. Star did it. No, someone has to step up. But the bad thing is with you being that smaller alliance that has to go against the bigger one is if you're the one who leads that, then everybody wants you out because you're the one making the big move of the season that's going to give somebody the win. So it's a tough spot.
It is a tough spot. Alex?
What it came down to with Mitch, with Star, with Chrissy was they didn't trust them. They're too wily, they're too kind of out there and odd and impulsive, right? And you have Joe, and Joe's this very constant, cool, everybody loves him, very safe, firefighter. So Mary, she just was too weird, and people didn't trust her, right? So there wasn't any trust, so they didn't want to make a move with her. Once I realized, okay, they can still make a move at 3, I'm like, this is going to be a boring episode. Because I was like, there's really no, because it's going to be Camilla and Kyle and Mitch. They can make a move, right? And they kind of alluded to what's going to happen next episode. They're kind of frame Shaheen and, whatever. But I think there were some funny moments. I liked when Mary got voted out, we had David stand up, do the Dead Poets Society. That was really odd. I don't know if anyone's ever stood up. Yeah, there you go, Brandon. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was basically
it. Was so crazy, and not a word. Like
just towering over everyone.
Not a word. That was part of it, James.
Yeah, and what's crazy to me is I bet that because we get to watch these episodes with like editing, like everything with like post-production, and I could only imagine how it kind of felt like live, where there was no music, everything was silent, like everyone was just looking at everyone, and then David's just there standing straight face, nothing on his face. I was like, it's gold. It's TV gold.
It really is. I know. I look my captain. Yeah, David. When David stood there. I mean, they're not allowed to talk, so that's all he could do to show his solidarity or whatever. I know, right?
Waiting.
Like I was waiting for that. I think what it shows, and it's a definite insight to the jury. I think that if Jeff could have said you're not allowed to do that beforehand, he would have, because even though it was dramatic and it was really cool, I think it really shows how hurt and bitter David is, and how, you know, they're really it's going to be a tougher jury because they're really pissed off at the people that I think are going to be in the finals. Here's my thought. I really, really think that since they didn't make a move in this episode, and they really could have made a move in the last episode, they screwed themselves. I don't care if you guys don't get along, or the enemy of me is my friend, right? And so if you're not even getting along with each other, you still band together to get rid of that main core alliance, which is just railroading itself right through to the end of this finale. I don't know if Kyle and Camilla and Mitch can actually make a play. They have to flip Shaheen. And I don't know, you know, even Kyle showed us so much during this episode of just how torn he is with betraying Joe. And he was even crying during this episode in his confessional. So I think that I don't think it's as easy of a path now that Mary's gone, and Mary would have done anything to stay. So she would have voted whatever way. And I mean, even if she wasn't going to vote the same way the next week, I think she probably would have. I think once you kind of band together to take out the main alliance, it'll start tightening things, right? That was the move. That was the time to tighten things up and really make a play. And they're basically gonna run out of options now, in my opinion. Alex, you got something? You're talking, but we can't hear you. But that's okay.
Sorry,
you look
Ava
great.
It's just like Dave. It's just like Dave. He's just playing the Dave card.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stand. Does Ava still have safety without power?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So the last time she can use her idol is 6 or 5?
5.
Okay. Well, you know, we have next tribal, which, you know, I thought that Ava might play her idol with the safety without power. I would imagine that, you know, what she's probably going to do is once they can use that idol at the end, you know, she'll use the idol on herself and then maybe give the safety without power to Joe. They both leave, which leaves Shaheen. I'm like, I don't know, I'm going off on this now, but, you know, it leaves Shaheen out. And that's why they're framing Shaheen so they can vote him off and have an excuse of why they did it. You know what I mean? And to keep Mitch. So I don't know why I had to say that right then, but yeah. So that's kind of what I'm forecasting here, but it's really not looking good. And yeah, you see that sentiment on the jury that everyone's just like, this is boring. This is not a very good, you know, you guys are so silly to keep Joe around, you know.
It's such a hard season too, because never have the not the problem, but the difference maker is not Joe, it's Ava. Ava is so loyal to Joe. I mean, she's given away her gameplay to every single person because she's like, well, I got Joe. Like, I have no big deal. So the season is different, not because of Joe, but because Ava is right there with them. It's never going to. The person that needs to turn on Joe is Ava. She ain't going to do that. So that's what makes this season different, which is nice to have kind of one season that kind of offsets the rest of them because it makes you appreciate the other ones. So she's the one that has to do it. I think it's going to be interesting. And again, I think it's the smart, wise gameplay of Kyle and Camilla. Now, if they can actually like get it going and like push it all the way to perfection, you know, you get Shaheen in trouble, because what that does is that allows the two to be, they're not going to break up the two. So they're like, well, let's just at least make them a little bit weaker by taking out the trust in Shaheen. So if they are to play, because Kyle knows that she has both things, which means Camilla knows she has both things, they will either leave together or, you know, be immune together, something like that, to where Shaheen is just right there. If the three of them are tight, they may give that immunity idol to Shaheen. So I think that limits the chances of of Ava giving the immunity out to Shaheen if they were to smell this out. But I really think that they're trying to get Shaheen so that Joe and Ava might vote Shaheen so that the rest of them can pile their votes on Joe and get him out of there. But it all comes down to immunity. Who wins immunity this next episode? So I'm really hoping that this is one of those things where a balloon keeps on getting barely blown up, and something explodes this next episode. But we've been waiting for an explosion for a couple weeks now. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
What do you think, James? What's your analysis of how things are going to be going?
I feel like, yeah, they've been sorry for my language. I feel like they've been edging us for so long on like a really explosive gameplay, and that it's always been not happening. I feel like they had like a clear shot last episode, but they blew it straight away. But they could have like really knocked out even Eva like last episode, but they didn't. So I feel like coming into the final 6, the smartest move is to get Eva next or Joe, in my opinion. If I was playing there, I would take out Eva and Joe the moment I get the chance. Like, and I don't know. It's just I feel like taking out Mary was the worst move they could have done, just because Mary will go wherever. And if you get on Mary's side last episode, if someone did it, next episode would be like you already have Mary in your pocket, easy, right? So it was a wasted opportunity. And at the same time, it's, I don't know. I feel like I'm just hoping for a prayer that something big happens next week, like Eva going home. Otherwise, it's looking, for lack of a better term, a pretty boring endgame.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I totally agree. So they said in the chat, safety without power is no more, which I think is correct, because I'm looking at, they said it ended at 7, so there's no more safety without power.
I saw that too, yeah.
The hidden immunity idol. Okay, so she can't use that anymore. Mm-hmm. So that kind of changes things, maybe a little bit, not really that much. But it does kind of leave the scenario where either Eva or Joe is going to be kind of up, right? Yeah. I also wanted to kind of prompt, like, is Joe actually a good player? In the sense of, like, it wasn't his idea to do the Strong Guys Alliance. That was kind of David's idea. He aligned with Eva, which was almost unintentional on his part. It was kind of Ava's decision to do that. He kind of found himself in this majority of California Girls Alliance. He's really just had one position, and he's had that posture, that strength, and he's been unwavering in that. And he's really good, I guess, at building that relationship. But, like, as far as, he hasn't been forced to make any moves, except maybe getting David out, which David didn't really have any power. So is that really a move? Was that even a good move on his part? It's hard to say. I don't know. Do you guys think that, like, if Joe was on a different season, do you think Joe is going far if he was with more dynamic people? Or I don't know, if he didn't have the strong guys, what's kind of your opinion on that? Because I feel like if Joe's actually ever put, you saw it in this episode, right? They were like, Joe's like, he had this moment of paranoia where he was going to get one vote, and he kind of freaked out. He got wide-eyed. Yeah. He's like, oh my gosh, he's kind of pissing Shaheen off. So I kind of question, is Joe really a good player? I mean, he's a super old school player, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have a lot of, in my opinion, of Joe kind of shifts back and forth, but here's what I do believe. And I don't know why this is happening, but we have seen on many, many previous seasons where they're so likable. That is such a huge thing. And yet Joe is so likable. Mm-hmm. He has made such strong connections with so many people. And they're to the point where Kyle in his doubt and confusion, and I can't win no matter which way I go, with like not hurting someone, is ready to sacrifice his own game. He even said it, to not betray Joe. I don't understand that. You just met these people, and though you are deep friends and you can be friends afterwards, you're all in it for the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's not like you showed up and you're like, shh, don't tell anyone. Right. I'm here to win $1 million.
Right.
You're not pulling some thing on them. We're all here to win $1 million. Every single one of us is here to win $1 million. So I'm going to do what I need to do to win $1 million. And so, and can I just say this? He's also a lawyer. Come on now. But I'm not that I'm going to try to crap on any lawyers, but like, come on, you should know that your primary objective is to get to the end. So the fact that you're willing to blow up your game or just give your game away because you're just so broken up about hurting these people, I think it does speak to Joe's game. I think like to be that close and to make those close and not be called so likable, because that's the part that like I think you can be that kind of person, but like not have others saying I can't bring them to the end because they're so likable. The jury's going to love him. They're going to vote him no matter what. I mean, they do say that because he's winning so many things and he's in control of so many things, but it's not the likability thing. That's what's holding them true to the alliance. So I don't know. That's my opinion on it. What do you guys think?
Well, you look at a game like Mike Callaway. Mike Callaway was somebody, he really didn't play a huge strategy. He basically just got to the end because he won all those immunities and stuff like that. And he did have some good relationships in a weird season. That was an extremely weird season when they broke it up like that. And the players they chose was a very negative atmosphere and stuff like that. So you have him. You have Kim Spratlin, who was more strategic, did have to kind of maneuver and different things like that. So I don't want to compare him to that, but a part of the game is to be socially available to people. I think part of the reason why Kyle and him are so close is because, he basically shared trauma bonding with Joe. That's huge, especially when it comes to somebody who's been in jail before, to be able to tell that story and now says, hey, I want to join this honest game. Well, guess what? The minute you don't do this honest game, you go back and be like, wait, hold on. Has that felon not left you? Like it's dangerous territory, especially when you've had lack of sleep. You're not talking to your accountability people. You don't have your coaching person in your life. So I can see how Kyle is trying to figure out how to maneuver around, but I am glad that Shaheen did mention in the tribal council, hey, like we all know that this is a game for $1 million. We all know where people are going to get cut and stuff like that. So I'm glad he said that, because I'm hoping Shaheen, what he said, allows everybody else to be like, okay, this next episode, guys, we got to get our car in order. Or the show in order. The first question that was asked was the Joe thing. Is he a good player? I think you guys have been nailing it. The social skills he's had, the trauma bonding with Kyle, the relationship he had with Ava, that he calmed her down and basically could have thrown his game away for how close he showed himself to be, but that's widely respected. But now you have a jury who are all the strategists and David. Will they respect the Joe game? And I don't know. If a strategist doesn't make a move, that's all you have is immunity wins and relationships in the season so far.
Well, I kind of think about him like a Jeremy Collins. Jeremy was big, strong guy, loved his family, loved his wife, firefighter, huge target. But I think Jeremy kind of positioned himself as maybe more of a target. He kind of had more of an instability in his personality. He kind of lost his temper at some points and was a little bit more emotional. I don't know if he was able to kind of connect with people as much. So I do think Joe is really, really good at that. But I just feel like, I don't know, he hasn't really faced that much adversity on the season. Has he really ever had a threat? Has there really ever been anybody, I know that people they're saying they're gunning for him, and he has like this invisible cloak around him where no one actually just wants to do it. So I do think he is, I look at Kyle, I say, God, dude, you're weak. Mitch, you're weak. And then you have these, Mary and Star, there's no, I don't know, so Joe's just been very insulated throughout the entire game. And I'm not saying he's like a bad player, but I think in a different situation, I think he would still be a super likable guy. But if you had somebody who was like kind of equal, when we look at somebody like Timothy, right? Is that his name? Timothy. Take the comment down. Okay. Yeah, Thomas. Sorry, Thomas.
Thomas.
You got so long I forgot his name.
Little Timothy.
Thomas was kind of, you know, I feel like he could take that Jeremy thread on and was kind of solid enough and had enough influence in the game. And do you have any strong people, you know, who could just, I don't know. So that's why I kind of question, is Joe really that good? I know he's good at connecting with people, but is he just,
No one's voted out Joe's number 2.
Yeah.
well,
No
that's what I'm
one's
saying. We're like, we talked about this last week.
3.
It's like, how is it not, how can nobody talk about this? Like, why are they just, in every other season, you have a strong number 2, you know, you vote the number 2s off every single time. And it's just like,
They do it to Mary.
Yeah, you do it to Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, don't become Mary's number 2.
James, what do you think about all that?
I feel like if they, going back to all of the chaos that has happened last episode, I feel like that was also the best opportunity they could have taken out Joe, because otherwise they won't get the chance. At 6, I feel like there's very little chance because there's a high possibility he would win immunity. But by like, and then also I feel like we also saw a lot of jury management with regards to last episode, because there was a lot of like comments with Mary and Joe talking about when they were in the beach, and I feel like that says a lot on how positive the other players feel about Joe, which makes me feel like he would garner a lot of votes. But I feel like after they took out Mary, it could impact David and probably Chrissy's vote down the line. But it's still a long way to go though. There's still 6, so I feel like a lot could definitely happen. But if they don't get rid of Joe now, the next episode, we could see a potential Joe win, just because of how he's positioning himself. His jury management is great. His social skills are so great that no one wants to betray him at this point, at this deep in the game.
Right.
So like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. Well, and again, it goes, I think, very beginning of the season when 2 of the tribes never went to tribal council, didn't have time to prove their trust to each other. So if you look at the 3 players that we just lost based on this whole theory of, hey, I have to do something, but I have no one there to help trust, it's Mary, Smar, and Chrissy, who are all in 3 different tribes that don't have anybody that could have joined them. They don't even have necessarily a number 2. So it goes to show just the very beginning of the season, when you have no trust built because you never went to tribal, that you really, you know, those first 2-3 days on that island do a lot for you in this part of the game. And and again, the Ava thing, I can't say enough about Ava being this. We've never had an honest player like this as a number 2, who's going to stick to their guns on not voting out their number 1.
She's doing a good job, though. I mean, in my opinion, you know, she's standing strong. She made great decisions last night. As soon as she started going for the 8th part of that tower, you know, when she was like, she got level 4 to keep her vote, and then she could have kept going, and she started to, and she thought about it, and then, you know, better judgment came in, and she was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And I thought that was really smart. I wouldn't have done it either if I was holding on to an idol and I'm the only person that I would, like she said, what am I going to ask myself for the idol? So it doesn't make any sense. Very few idol plays and things this season. I'm not really sure how I like that. I would like to have another idol out there, maybe not such big clues or such pointed clues given to specific people. But I would like to see, you know, I would have loved to see Mary out there trying to find an idol to save herself, and what that would have done and how that would have mixed things up. I like the mix up.
I bet as soon as the producer saw that Ava got the purple rock, they're like, oh crap. There's our chance.
Yeah, they tried, but
whatever magnetic thing she has in her fingers towards advantages and stuff like that, they need to like take that out.
It's true. So I have a question for each of you. Would you take, and I might have asked this already, but it's related to exactly what's playing out right now. would you take a goat to the end, or would you take someone that if you beat them, it really would mean that much more on $1 million?
No, I don't understand this idea in Survivor. Like, I need to go to the end with the best. Like, I have this honor around playing the game of Survivor. I need to go up against the best.
You
It's
vote
like,
out the best.
Yeah, you
So it
beat
makes
them by
you the best.
voting them out.
Yeah.
yeah, and then they're not the best. You're the best when you vote them
Yeah.
out. So, you know, in Shaheen, you know, so no, I wouldn't. That's like some weird, like, I don't know, sports, you know, sports fantasy drama that they're playing out in their head. Oh my God, I want LeBron James and Michael Jordan to play basketball. It's like, give me a break. Like, but Shaheen saying, I want to go up against Joe, you know, Shaheen said, I believe I played a better game than Joe. And then he never gave a justification for it. In what world, or what is Shaheen thinking? Because I don't think really, you know, Joe's made the move of being so influential. That's the move.
Shaheen beats Joe every single time on best beard. That is it.
Right.
That beard is a serious, that like needs,
It's
that's
serious.
its own player.
Hey, Bree, I remember at the beginning of this during the draft that you were wondering why we had such a thing for beards. And now
But that beard is
you
insane.
understand. So I think
I don't understand it. That would drive me absolutely insane to have like a cat wrapped around my face all day long. But it's a serious one compared to Joe, because I kind of noticed it last, and I'm looking at Joe, and it's like Joe's the same time zone, same thing, and nothing compared to the Shaheen thing going. So Shaheen wins best beard, in my opinion. But that's about it right now.
All right, Brandon, what do you think? Are you going to the end with the best, or what's your whole philosophy around that?
I think that if I need, I think it all depends on what part of my resume I need to build. Like if I need to show that I need to vote out somebody who's doing great, then I need to vote them out. So if it comes to the end of the game, there's 5 people. I right in this season, I vote out the best. But again, we've been talking about who is the best. If Joe doesn't have anything besides relationships, I vote out the relational people. That's who I vote out. I look at the jury and I say, okay, who has the best relationships on this jury, and vote them out. Kenzie, no one should have taken Kenzie a couple seasons ago to the final because she has so many great relationships on that bench. So I would change the definition to the best being who has the best relationships, depending on who's on that jury. That's what I would say.
James?
I would well, I don't actually I mean, yeah, also both of your answers are kind of valid in a way that both of them kind of holds true to what Survivor is, right? So when we look at Survivor, it's like outwit, outplay, outlast. So basically, when you vote out players that are necessarily better than you, you're better than them. So you vote out the best. But at the same time, you also have to consider who, for example, is in the jury. Like who can vote for you and who's not going to vote for you. So you have to consider those variables also. So to me, the simplest answer would be like, if I want things easy, I would bring a goat. Just because, I don't have to do, I mean, my game would show more than this goat I have beside me. But then at the same time, if the circumstances do not allow me to bring a goat, and like the better play for me is to bring a big player at the end and then fight it out, then that's what I have to do. I mean, it really just depends on what type of game you played thus far and who are you with towards that end game, because it really would matter.
Yeah, and what you're planning your pitch to be at the end of the game too. Like, what have you been thinking about over the last couple of days or whatever that says, okay, I can beat this person because of this. Because again, you're tired, but you got to be working on that jury speech, and so you can't just, if you're multifaceted and you can think of all these things, awesome. I'm not that way. I need to be like, okay, this was the direction I was going, and in order to sell this game, I need to stick to this direction to show people that my plan that I had at the beginning of this season did get perfectly executed. If it's already wishy-washy, kind of like Mitch's or Mary's, I probably need to do some bigger things and kind of say no to my prepping and just get out the bigger players and take a goat. So I think it all depends on so much. I look at other seasons. Todd Herzog comes up, you know, our boy, where he had to vote out James. Like he had to, and he used that in the tribal council explanation when he was defending himself, saying, "Hey, James, like I wasn't going to beat you. I had to take you out." He did the same thing to Jean Robert. Was different. Jean Robert, he had to appease him. He could have easily beaten Jean Robert, but he told John, "Hey, I couldn't have beat you, so I had to vote you out." So I think if you can frame it correctly, that's what's more important than if you're taking the GOAT or you're taking the stronger player.
But I kind of do understand where Alex was coming from, because I've seen it not only on Survivor but in other reality shows where it's an elimination style, that they're like, if I'm gonna be the best, I'm gonna beat the best at the end. Like, it's also just so stupid thinking, like especially in like an elimination format type of reality show where you need to vote someone out. The logic is not there in a way that, why are you, whenever we're watching these kinds of show, right, we're like, why are you keeping this player? Like they're better than you, and then just because you're loyal or stuff like that. So like it does play an important role. Like we also need to kind of like think that we shouldn't be bringing the people at the end who are stronger just because we forge a relationship. We also need to be self-aware. Like, are we confident in beating them at the end, even if they're a big player, or like, do they need to go? There's a reason why players are called shields. It's because you drop them off at some point. You don't bring them to the end.
It's like you're playing Monopoly and you're like, I don't want to get this person out. I want to go to the end of Monopoly with this person. I'm gonna no, keep the money. No, keep it. I don't want it. I want to face you in the end of Monopoly. It's just like you're playing Monopoly.
That's what Kyle basically said.
Yeah,
I don't want to. And he talked about his family.
That's a trauma
just
bonding.
Blew my mind. It just made me so angry.
Well, Kyle, he's got this super high anxiety about stuff, you know, and the anxiety creates this indecision in him, and he's paralyzed. And he said, you know, I think his famous line from this episode was, I don't want to win if it means hurting people. You know, I don't want to, you know, even if it means helping my family, changing their life with $1 million. I don't want to hurt Joe's feelings. It's like, I don't know if that's a good news for him as a lawyer or bad news for him as a lawyer.
He'll get away.
Kind of like putting people in jail or like ruining their life as a lawyer. I got some bad news for you, Kyle. This is probably going to be the least amount of disappointment you will inflict on people in the future.
Maybe he's like a people's court lawyer where it's not like small claims type stuff.
I don't think he can do that.
He's drafting wills and that's it, you know. The powers of attorney. That's what he's working on. And they get pissed off, you know, it is what it is. So I do think Kyle, you know, is an interesting like look at the dilemmas. I think that they all kind of go through these dilemmas during the game, maybe not to the extent that Kyle is at this point, but I think that is a dilemma. I think that's why these bonds are so strong with Joe and everyone. But do you think, with the way everyone's playing and they're so tightly bound together, and I'm not saying Joe would ever do this, but do you think the way they've portrayed themselves so far, if Joe did vote out Eva, would that take him down a notch instead of helping his game? Would it hurt his game?
I just can't see it. I can't see.
I know he wouldn't do it, but if he were to, would it help his game or hurt his game? That's the question. That, like, because of what he stood for, because of all the things that he's done.
It would hurt his game. First, he's a liar, and second, you know, it's a stupid move because you're voting out your number two, who really doesn't have much chance to beat you. But
she's done something that no one has ever done before, though, too. You know, she has been strong. She has been a voice in some of the votes. She has the most, you know, advantages in the game. Mm-hmm. She's overcome a lot. Yeah. She came in, with possibly more things in her favor, but some more disadvantages in her, that go against her. Right. So she does have like she said, the focus to really complete a task and really have that hyperdrive and all of those things. And yet she can't lie, and she can't read dishonesty, and she can't. So she's had this, internal struggle with a lot of different things that we saw come outside with that Joe and Eva moment. So does Eva, I don't know if Joe I think it would hurt his game, but I think it'd be really interesting if he didn't bring her. James, you're shaking your head over there.
No, I feel like, because I feel like I see a lot of Carolyn and Eva's edit right now. Wherein it's very much like inspirational story of like someone who never had the remote chance of winning the actual game. Something like, it's very much similar. And we can see it in different scenes in this episode specifically. Like that's when I watched it. It was like I was talking to my friend and I was like, Eva's like Carolyn. She's like number 2, and then she's always gonna be. You would expect her to go to the end, but she, at this point in the game, if nothing happens and she would be in the end, she wouldn't win. But you like her. She's like okay, but like she won't win, which is kind of how I felt about Carolyn also.
That's actually that's an interesting analogy, because maybe that's why they're not voting Eva out, because everyone's underestimating her. Like that was kind of Carolyn's complaint. It's like, nobody sees me, nobody takes me seriously, nobody respects me, no one even hears me. It's like I'm not even here. That was Carolyn's whole thing. You saw it on Traitors too.
Yeah.
She wasn't respected by anybody. And I think they respect Eva, but they just kind of dismiss her. Right. And I would look at Eva and I would say, she made one of the most important calls in the game right when they started, which was picking Joe. I mean, how did she do that? How does she know Joe is going to be the most powerful person in the entire game? She made that decision. Did she make Joe? And that relationship. And because we kind of talked about this, Ava's the heart, Joe's the head. That stability in Eva, that Joe's number 2 can't lie, which locks Joe into a position where he can't lie. That has had a ripple effect through the entire game.
Well, and her just not choosing to lie allows for her mind to be completely free. I mean, Kyle had to tell somebody about his lawyer thing because he needed some mind space to be able to pull off the next move, which I think is trying to get Joe out eventually. I think that's why he's told Camilla, because he needed to tell Camilla to free up some space in order for him to be like, okay, so now I need to get back in game mode, and now I can get Joe out. Because I think him telling her that allowed us to see that, hey, he's going to go with Camilla at the end of this. He's not going to give up on that. With Ava, she has that brain space, and I think there was something with her having the autism. And I think we do this all the time. My brother has cerebral palsy, and so they do something spectacular, and you're like, oh, that was awesome that person with cerebral palsy did that. You can't get your mind out of the fact that, okay, if this was a regular person, that is still awesome what they did. And so I think that part of her autism, she needs to figure out how to communicate this at Final Tribal Council, that yes, she overcame challenges as an autistic person, but she overcame those same challenges that a normal person would have a hard time overcoming as well. So I think that somehow she needs to say those things at Tribal if she makes it that far, to show that she's actually playing a really good game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that and I look at the things that she's done. I mean, I just think she's an exceptional athlete. She's very strong. She does a really great job. She does have mental focus. I think that's one of the things that, as we could see, as we kind of shift in our podcast today, mental deficiencies during the end of the game come into play when you haven't had food or water or sleep, and you're on an island for however many days, and you can't spell to save your life, or even put words together. It wasn't so much that they couldn't spell as it was they really had a hard time making the words. I'm not sure what the words were that they were trying to Usually you can, like with Kyle, his was just a letter flip, and I do that all the time. It happens. You just don't even see it, and then because your brain still reads it, we still have the ability to read it, even if all the letters are jumbled in between. But I really don't know what Joe was trying to spell. In the beginning, I was like, "Where are you going with this?"
But he was confident. He was so confident in whatever he spelled. Yeah. It's like Koviv all over again.
Right. I feel like Jeff made that up at the end, because Joe lost because he just made that up. That was just totally
loud, Joe.
You know what?
I think it's so great.
It's an opportunity.
Made out loud. That was so great. He's the common denominator.
He is the common denominator. Many.
Yeah, that's true. So with that challenge, we do have a game. Are we ready for this special? Now, we're gonna play. You can choose not to answer. But so Alex, I'll ask you: are you interested in a spelling bee challenge?
No, not really.
James has to, because my history with James is he created this amazing online reality game called Sruvivor, and in those online survivor groups, we've had to do challenges, and we were stressed out to the gills, and my heart still has some weird beats to it because of some of these games. So I'm doing this to James as revenge. This is Joe Hunter's Unforgettable Immunity Hindering Spelling Bee Competition that I'm inviting you guys to. James, I'm excited that you get to feel. Are you starting to get stressed, James?
Yeah, I'm shivering right now.
Good. Intended. So the first example up here is we're not only going to give you a scrambled word, but we're going to. It's as if we gave Joe the scrambled word and he tried to spell something out of it. So we're going to give you Joe Hunter's answer to a word puzzle, and then you have to try to figure out what it really is. So here's the example on this next slide. So he did with Unforgettable. In confidence, he said, "Got fun betrayal."
Mm-hmm.
Was wrong. But if you look at the next slide, it is Unforgettable. So here is our first word. These are all Survivor phrases, words, different things like that, Survivor related. So go ahead and show the first one.
Blindside.
Look at you, James.
James is just going to crush this.
So blind. That's what Joe would spell with disblind, because it's close to something, I guess. All right, so James with one already. Next. Pleep space is what Joe would put.
What?
But pleep space.
This is like.
So we'll give another 5 seconds. Yeah, it's a famous win. Liz would have loved this award if it was offered.
Applebee's.
Applebee's is the word right there.
This is like Simlish right here. Like I feel like I'm talking to someone from The Sims.
Next one.
I gotta check what the chat's writing too, because.
Yeah, let's see what the chat's doing. So this is he would take those letters and put Arab Moroni. That's what Joe would put, because we know Joe's great at spelling. And this is a famous survivor that I think we all know and love. He's played the most seasons.
Boston Rob. No.
Wow.
Well, Rob Mariano. So
Rob Mariano.
That is a full name.
You're giving big clues here, so
I'm trying to speed this along a little bit. So there's that.
Okay.
Grooming. That's what he would put.
Exactly. Grooming.
This is one word. I'll go a little bit easier on the clues so that some people can play from back home.
Yeah, I want to hear what's
your clue?
What the chat is saying. Come on, chat. I need some help with this.
Oh, and so much fun that they include this. I wonder if production was just like laughing and so
Well, it just kind of shows, we talk
It's
crap about American
We
Survivor.
do, and then we can't do
Right.
Mhm.
anything.
You give them the easiest challenges in the world. They're like, spell.
Yeah. Well, they
Sorry,
show us.
can't handle that.
They
Yeah.
show it us, right? Like we saw Unforgettable at the very beginning of these challenges, and we're like, how did he?
How
get
did you
there?
not get that? Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so let's go ahead and show it. It is marooning. There it is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Question mark, exclamation point.
next one.
Chocolate milk.
Good job. I had to make an easy one for you. So there it is, right there.
Whenever I read milk, I always go to the tribe name immediately.
You start saying that instead. So there it is,
Yeah.
chocolate milk. You guys need an easy one right there. Next one, Haug sours.
Oh man, that's like something like you'd not want
It's
to
like an
eat.
IKEA. Yeah, it's like an IKEA furniture.
You're right. The old Hag sours. I'm gonna go buy 3 Haug sours today.
Right.
All right. And I want to say too about Kyle, because we talked about how he got 2 letters wrong. The puzzle was the same on front and back, and so I think the 2 he got wrong were the 2 T's in a row on unforgettable, and so I think he had to switch those out. All right, show the answer to this one, because I know what this one is. This is one of our least favorite advantages of all time.
Oh, hourglass.
Okay.
Hourglass. All right, next one. We'll go 2 more. This is what Joe would be cruel plippy. And he would say that in confidence, as Joe or
Poor Joe. We're really picking on him today.
this is a type of edit somebody can receive.
Purple.
Purple,
Yeah, Purple Kelly,
Purple
yeah.
Kelly. Yeah, James got that. Purple Kelly.
I'll do one more to get our predictions in here in a second. All right. Oh, is that it? That's it.
That's it.
That's it. So James, you win, I think, 2-0.
That was painful for me.
But it goes to show how tough it is. We're all, hopefully we've had our breakfast. I'm sorry, Alex.
I've had my dinner over here. Yeah.
Predictions. Alex.
Predictions as we wrap it up. Yeah. Who goes home? Who stays? What's happening? What are we doing? I'm out of it, so
Yeah.
I'm done. Cook
It's going to
me.
be between Mitch and Camilla. I believe. I mean, it all hinges on Kyle, right? Everything hinges on Kyle. Will Kyle flip on Joe, and can he disappoint Joe? And are they going to be friends afterwards? Does Joe need legal counsel? Does he have enough money for a retainer? We'll see. I don't know. I'm expecting a very boring. The season has been, we thought, things are going to change. And like James said, this is the edging season. No, this is a boring season. I'm predicting, I think it's going to be Joe at the end because we got to think, we're coming down to immunity challenges. Who's going to win? Okay. Shaheen has kind of said in his somber song, Sitting on the Hammock. I think Survivor's probably has some of the worst songs in reality television, potentially, from worst raps, worst song, pretty bad song. So I don't think Shaheen. No, the letters are getting mixed up. Shaheen is going to be able to pull off. So it's going to be Eva and Joe winning these immunities. You're not going to be able to get them out. Eva and Joe at the end with whoever they want to bring, I guess, whether it be Kyle or whether it be Shaheen. It's not going to be Camilla and it's not going to be Mitch. So I think next week it's probably going to be Mitch, and then it's going to be Camilla, and then Eva and Joe will choose, do they want Kyle or Shaheen at the end? Which I think it's going to be Kyle, because they're trying to pin something on Shaheen here, like he's disloyal. So that's my prediction.
James?
In the ideal world that I would love to live in, watching Survivor 48, instead of like the edging we've been seeing, I would like to see a 2-2-2 split between someone like Eva, and then they vote out Eva on the next round, on the revote. That would be the best like TV ever. if they've been edging us, like, and it's gonna be like, something we've been waiting for, like. And then or if that doesn't happen, I think we could be saying goodbye to Shaheen next episode, because I feel like if the two, because Eva still has the idol, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I feel like we could see that getting into play next episode, or she could be going home with that next episode. So in my ideal world, I would love to see a 2-2-2, but I feel like where things are going, I feel like it's gonna be either Shaheen or possibly Kyle going home next. Yeah.
Brandon?
See, those who don't know James has produced like a Survivor season, like I've been talking about, and this is where James would throw in some kind of advantage for somebody just off the cuff, so that would make it more interesting. I wonder if there's going to be one more advantage somewhere in this next episode. Immunity, it's all dependent on who wins immunity, so you got that going on. I think Shaheen is finally going to get immunity on this one. And I think, no, I don't know what I think. My hope is that the craziness of this season, as far as how bland it's been the last 2 or 3 times, I think all the people who are screw up their game on the final day, whether it's drinking coconut juice or whatever, they're all gone already. So I think they're finally going to do something. And I think that Ava's going to keep her idol because she said she's going to play it at 5. Camilla heard that. They're smart people. They somehow get Joe voting somebody like maybe Shaheen just to have enough votes to get Ava out. I think Joe's going to win immunity. Ava goes home.
Interesting.
Agree.
I'm gonna agree with Chocolate here. I think it's Camilla going home next. I think that Kyle's going to have to make a decision. I think Joe and Eva and possibly Mitch, just because Mitch feels beholden, are going to target Camilla in this next one. I think Kyle's going to have to make the decision. Do I stay with Camilla or do I stay with Joe? Where do my loyalties lie? He's already kind of said he doesn't know who he's going to hurt. I think that's leading up to who he will hurt. And I think that they're going to have enough votes, and it will be a betrayal by Kyle against Camilla, and she'll go home. The only thing that I could see, I mean, they needed the spiciness of Mary to kind of pump them in the direction of getting rid of Joe, of getting rid of Shaheen, flipping Shaheen and doing those things. They don't have that now. So I really feel like that Mary was that antagonistic voice that we heard in the background that said, you better flip, you better do something, you better use my vote. She was keeping the pressure on them. And they, even though they blocked it out, now that she's not there, they're not even hearing that. And it's loyalty to the end. And we keep our word and we do the things. I'm agreeing. I think it's Camilla will be out. If that happens, the other two will fall, which is Mitch and Shaheen. And I think it will be Kyle, Joe, and Eva at the end. And Joe probably takes this. So I don't see any scenario right now unless Joe doesn't win. I think he's winning more. I actually see him with 5 immunities. Wins this season. He's got 3. I think he'll get 2 more. I think he'll be up there in the ranks of, those that have won that many.
When they were voting last night, I said, if this goes wrong for any of them, they're going to be so afraid of Joe. And that's why I knew nobody was going to switch, was because if it didn't go the exact right way, which it didn't seem like they had the pieces in place, they would so fear Joe's retaliation. The Godfather coming in, right? So I think that's going to hinder anybody making the move next time again, because there's this fear if we don't get him out, well, then the retaliation, we know we're going to go home next. And so I do think you're right. Probably Camilla. Kyle's going to have to make that choice. And Joe has Mitch so close, right? Mitch is super close, and Mitch has always feared that reaction from Joe. So again, Bree, you've convinced me at the end. I'm switching you're right.
I just see that she's probably, the biggest target in this, and we'll see how their little Kyle and Camilla game plays out at the end. I don't know, but all I know is I love the show still.
they still haven't talked about it. Shaheen and Camilla, are they still talking? Are they still number ones? I mean, they really haven't really talked about. I thought they were number one, so they're not number one. Whatever happened to that?
Well, and I think they gotta have some kind of number one thing going on because Shaheen talked about this game that he has over Joe, and I don't see anything unless it is this not real number one, number two with Camilla. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Shaheen proposed to vote Eva off. Is that how they're framing Shaheen? That he wants to vote Eva off?
Probably.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
Thanks, James, for coming and hanging out with us. We love having our super fans. Brandon is standing to end the show, and Alex, great to have you as always. Hey, shout outs to all of our wonderful people in the chat. Chocolate, as always, Amy and Brennan. We love having you, Johanna. Great to have you as part of the show with us here. We'll see you guys next week. Keep the fire burning. And Brandon, sit down, please. Oh my